Hey, sixth graders, welcome to chapter 6. We are talking about positive or negative integers, and so you need to make sure that you go look in the notes and see what those are. What is an integer? An integer is a whole number. Okay, so it can't be a fraction, can't be a decimal, it has to be a whole number, but it can be positive or negative. Now, what's a negative number? Sometimes if you owe somebody money, that could be considered -5, or temperature. If you've ever seen a temperature gauge, it could say negative, which is below 0. So let's take a look and see, if you had 1 minus 5, you could end up with -4, right? So how do we get there? So this says write a positive or negative integer that represents the situation. A contestant gains 250 points on a game show. Gains indicates a number greater than 0, so use a positive integer. Plus 250 or 250. Now, you can write a plus, but we don't actually have to, and most time we really don't, unless we are saying like plus something. So normally, if I was just to say adding 250, you would just write 250 because we assume that it's a positive number if there's nothing in front of it. So gasoline freezes at 40 degrees below 0. Below 0 indicates a number is less than 0, so use a negative integer. So -40. You must put the negative sign in front of the number to indicate that it's negative. Okay? Write a positive or negative integer that represents the situation. A balloon floats 5 feet above the ground. So above the ground, what do you think? Is that positive or negative? An anchor is 15 feet
Write a positive
underwater.
or negative integer that
Positive or
represents the
negative?
situation.
Let's see.
Remember, positive integers are greater than 0, and negative integers are less than 0. Part A. A balloon floats 5 feet above the ground. To write a positive or negative integer that represents this situation, we need to look for a key word or phrase that tells us if the integer will be positive or negative. The phrase above the ground means that the balloon's height is greater than 0. So we will use a positive integer. The number given in the situation, 5 feet, will be used to write the integer. So write the number 5. Because we said that above the ground means we need to use a positive integer, we can write a plus sign in front of the 5 to show that it is positive, or we can just write 5. So, an integer that represents the situation is plus 5 or just 5. Part B. An anchor is 15 feet underwater. To write a positive or negative integer that represents the situation, we need to look for key word or phrase that tells us if the integer will be positive or negative. The word underwater means that the integer is less than 0, so we will use a negative integer. The number given in the situation is 15 feet, so we can write this number, and then, because we said that we need to use a negative integer, put a negative sign in front of the number. So, an integer that represents the situation is -15.
There you have it. Above the ground, positive. Under, negative. So let's try these and we'll do them together. Write a positive or negative integer that represents the situation. A hiker climbs 900 feet up a mountain. Probably positive, right? Above the ground. You have a debt of $24. That means you owe somebody $24. That's going to be negative. A student loses 5 points for being late to class. You lose points. That's -5. A savings account earns $10. Earning is adding, so that's going to be +10. So we got 900, -24. That's a debt. You owe it. Those are bad. Don't do that. A student loses 5 points, -5. And a savings account earns 10. There it is.